to fight. Together, we are unstoppable. Are you ready?
Return it to base. Ordnance drop inbound. The flag is ours. Please haul ass at your earliest convenience. Now.
Hey everyone, what is up? This is Brian, also known as Sketch across the community, and we are coming to you live today from 343 Industries here in Redmond, Washington. And let me just say, it feels great to be back. I feel like today has been a long time coming. I'm excited to finally kick this off. I know you all are, so welcome to today's live stream, and we are going to dive into this weekend's upcoming Halo Infinite tech preview. Now, before we get going, just want to give you guys a little bit of context for what we're going to cover today. We're going to have a couple guests rotate through. We're going to dive right into the same exact build that Halo Insiders will get their hands on starting tomorrow. We are live, so all the same known issues that we're aware of in this tech preview that's work in progress are also in this build today. So who knows what's going to happen. Hopefully everything goes smoothly, but just ask everyone to bear with us. Also, I've kind of been in my house in the quarantine for about 2 years, if you can't tell. So we might be a little bit rusty, but we're going to have a lot of fun today. We got a lot of cool stuff to talk about and show. So to kick things off, want to introduce Sam Hanshaw, producer on the live team. Sam, welcome.
Thanks. It's good to be here. I'm ready to have some fun and introduce our fans to our first tech preview.
So let's sort of start by setting a little bit of context. And I know folks are eager to see stuff and dive in. We're going to get to that in a few minutes, but just let's kind of start at the highest level. We talk about fighting a lot. We talk about tech previews a lot. Kind of what do we want our viewers and our insiders to know? Like, what do we mean? Like, what is the context for what this really is?
Sure. So I think that calling it a tech preview, that encapsulates it. We're testing our technology here. We're looking to get players into games. We're looking to make sure that the servers are up and running well, and that we can support everything with our service infrastructure. Obviously, we also want people to have fun while doing it, and we need to get feedback on the breadth of hardware that we know is out there. You know, we can't test on every combination of hardware that people have for their PCs, but we know that the folks at home can, and so we need your help to do that.
And this is safe to say this will be the biggest scale test that we've been able to do to date. We're talking hundreds of thousands of Halo Insiders have been invited to participate this weekend. And obviously we've been hard at work testing. We've done smaller scale flights to lead up to this point. But like, what does that process look like? Like, what's had to happen to get us to where we are today?
Sure, quite a bit. Been some hurdles along the way for sure. We cut this branch about 2 months ago. And that's when we started with a lot of the testing for it and kind of targeted bug fixes towards getting a stable product to have out today for tech preview. Now, it's 2 months old. It's still got some bugs. We know that. We've got a robust known issues list for folks to be prepared before they dive in. And we expect you to hit some new bugs that we haven't seen. And that's part of what we're excited about, because we need your help to find these bugs, and so we can see how they're reproduced and fix them internally. But yeah, it's been about 2 months of testing, fixing, and play testing to get to this.
And if I really wanted to roll it back even further, it's safe to say that we've been flighting as kind of a process, which, by the way, for those that aren't familiar, because not everybody uses the same jargon out there, right? When we talk about flighting, it's really the process of putting out kind of iterative pre-release software to a target audience with some expected goals to go after. We put the build out, it tests, we get the feedback, and we act on that feedback and sort of move on to the next one. So safe to say, we've been doing this for quite some time at a much smaller scale. So this is not the first time we've put the game in the hands of civilians, so to speak. So we've been getting feedback all along. I just kind of wanted to bring that point up. It's not like we've just been heads down. This is our first time sharing our baby with the world. We've had a small group of various insider private flights, user research. So all these inputs have been a critical part of development really since the beginning, certainly. But now we're opening the floodgates to get all sorts of new perspectives, and I think critically, fresh eyes, brand new perspectives.
Yeah, absolutely. Fresh eyes, fresh hardware, like everything that we could ask for. It's coming from the hundreds of thousands of people who are going to be playing this weekend.
So before we move on, I also just want to comment on, if your Twitter feed's like mine, the invites started rolling out yesterday about 5 p.m. to eligible insiders. It's been kind of a whirlwind of emotions, I'm sure, for many people. Sending out hundreds of thousands of emails, it turns out, takes a lot of time. There are people, as of an hour or two ago, I'm seeing are just now receiving their emails. So I think my message to everyone is, not everyone will get in this particular tech preview and this flight. And we knew that was going to be the case because, we need to incrementally grow. We sort of want to walk before we run, right? But I do want to make sure people know that there will be future opportunities, right? This is not the only tech preview that we've planned between now and launch.
That's correct. This is the first and probably the smallest. So as we grow and over the coming months, as we put out new builds with additional features, they're each going to have a larger and larger audience as we head towards launch.
So just really critically, if you want to be a participant in a future tech preview or flight, please head to haloinsider.com. Anyone can opt in at any point. Make sure your profile is completed. We'd love to get more and more people in for future flights, as Sam mentioned. So Sam, maybe now let's shift gears a little bit. I think one of the really cool and ambitious aspects of this project is kind of the breadth of platforms that we're going to support right now. I mean, we not only is our multiplayer experience free to play, but cross-play. I mean, we are really truly going to where our players are, regardless of platform.
Yeah, and this tech preview is no exception. We're going to be flighting this tech preview on all the platforms we intend to ship with at launch. So you're going to be able to play on anything in the Xbox One family, the Series X and Series S, and we're going to be going out to, as I said before, a variety of PC hardware, and all of that's going to be cross-play.
And the PC, by the way, also on Steam, which we know a lot of fans were excited about. I think for the purpose of this tech preview, we're only on Steam for PC, but obviously for launch, that won't be the only means of playing our game. Now, one thing we did want to know, I think, Sam, at a high level, safe to say that the experience that we're going to put out in this tech preview, specifically on each of these platforms, when it comes to like fidelity and performance, safe to say that what's in the preview today is not necessarily indicative of our targets when we launch this game.
Yeah, that's correct. So performance is something that we're working on week after week. And as I said before, this is a build that's about 2 months old. So we cut this from main 2 months ago to work on it. And a lot of the performance work that goes in wasn't appropriate to bring over to this branch because performance work can often create instability. We wanted to keep this as stable as possible when we launch it to you all. So this build, about 2 months behind in terms of performance, and obviously there's more runway to go before we launch later this year.
And I would assume the data we get from this tech preview will be really valuable as we continue to sort of make sure we're supporting the widest breadth of PC configurations, for example. And really the team's goal is to deliver a really solid, performant, good-looking experience catered to every platform that we support.
Exactly. Couldn't have said it better myself.
So speaking of that, I know people are eager to see some stuff. It's kind of cool, really, if you think about it, life to date, we've only ever shown Halo Infinite running on PC. And we're going to do that here live today in a little bit. We're going to show some stuff off. But this is going to be the first time people can see what the game looks like running on an actual Xbox hardware. So prior to this stream, we were able to put together a little bit of gameplay capture, and I'd like to give folks a glimpse at this is going to be a Halo Infinite multiplayer match recorded, I believe, last week here in the studio, just to give people a sense of this is the game as it currently stands in this build running on an Xbox One. So I'm going to give a shout out to Joshua here behind the scenes. He's running production for the live stream. Josh, if you want to cue that up, I think people are really eager to see some gameplay. Let's take a look. Let's see how this game's looking currently on Xbox One.
Spartan down.
Sam, clearly we're looking at a little Slayer match here on Bazaar, one of our new maps. There's a lot to take in, I'm sure, for viewers who are just seeing a lot of stuff for the first time here.
Yeah, I can't remember if we've shown things like the pulse carbine being used in first person. I think it was briefly shown in the multiplayer trailer, and I think this is the first time we've shown first person view of someone walking around in Bazaar.
I think it has. We're also right now kind of getting a look at the friend and foe system that we've discussed in some of our blogs in the past. This is kind of moving away from forcing players into red and blue, allows us to kind of maintain that unique armor customization that's become a greater focal point for Halo Infinite.
Yeah, and I think this is a pretty good example of that, and I think you're really seeing those colors pop out on the Xbox One hardware. It's great.
I think I just noticed a custom skin applied to that AR there that we saw briefly.
I missed it, unfortunately. I do love the... Oh, yeah. I love the AR skins. It's kind of nice being able to customize your starting weapon. It's the one you're going to see most often, so I like to have mine looking sharp.
Now, internally, from a development and playtest perspective, I mean, obviously we've got the teams focusing on all platforms and all builds, and it's safe to say that we've got folks truly getting sweaty on Durango, on Xbox Series X and S, and low, medium, and high PC specs as well, right?
Yeah, so obviously, as I said before, we can't cover every PC spec out there, but we try to have a good range within our testing, and we have folks playing on Xbox Ones regularly, myself included. I try and playtest on Xbox One as much as possible, because it's a really important thing for us to support and make sure it's looking good.
Yeah, it really is awesome that we're able to kind of bring that audience forward with us, right? We know there's obviously a large amount of Xbox One players out there, especially as, you know, frankly, some people I think are still eager to acquire a new console, and with some of the supply chain issues that have come around during the pandemic, not necessarily easy for everyone. So, you know, thankfully I'm not one of the engineers. I can't imagine it's necessarily a trivial undertaking to be able to scale so smartly across different hardware, but I gotta say, shaping up super, super nice, and really looking forward to getting some feedback from Xbox One players after this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that's gonna wrap up that clip that we have. Now we're gonna show a little more gameplay here in a bit. We're gonna have Tom French, our multiplayer associate creative director, join us. We have another match from Xbox Series X that we're gonna get into. But once this wraps up, we're gonna jump back over to the build, and we're gonna look through this real flight build here. By the way, I heard you're a real Needler fan. Is that true?
That is true. I love the Needler. I think it's one of the most unique weapons we have in Halo, and I've loved every expression of it. Hasn't always been the most powerful gun in the game, but it's always been interesting to use.
It feels like it shreds in this game, at least in our playtest, right?
Yeah.
It's do not sleep on the Needler this weekend. I'll just say that.
Yeah, especially like against bots, like they don't know how to deal with it, so
yeah,
it's real good against them.
You mentioned bots. We'll talk about that a little bit more a little bit later in the show today when Tom joins us. Why don't we sort of pivot back now to the real build, which I'm sure people are really eager to see. And I thought maybe we just kind of help give our players who are going to be a part of the tech preview, just kind of give them the lay of the land a little bit, show them what they can expect and what that's going to look like. So Josh, maybe if you want to cut to, we'll go to my feed, I reckon, and we can sort of take a look at our lobby space, I guess. You know, what is the official term for this space that we're going to feed into? Once Josh is able to kind of hit that switch. There we go. So this is it, right? This is our tech preview build. We're looking at it right now live.
Yep, this is the essentially the menu that you're going to hit as soon as you boot up. So you can see like the multiplayer and academy options there. If you hit start, you can get into our main settings, and there's a few settings I think we want to show off.
Let's take a
highlight.
look. I mean, no, I like settings. No one's ever seen these settings in detail before, so we'll kind of take a look here. So we want to make sure, obviously, players understand, and like first thing you should do if you're going to be in the tech preview this weekend, probably just kind of get acclimated, tweak your settings to your liking, just make sure that things are sort of the way you want them, if you will. So I think, I'll just quickly scroll through. I'm not going to speak to every one of these. I think we'll be here all afternoon, but I think you're going to find a lot of sort of what you'd expect to find in some regards. Hold the sprint if I want to do that. I can kind of really dial in my sensitivity and all that. I'm pretty casual, so I kind of tend to just run default in a lot of cases. I'm not afraid to admit that.
Yeah, I think that I've never gotten into all the zoom sensitivity settings, but
I'm just worried I would get myself into a state where I would just never land a shot again, or who knows, maybe I would suddenly sort of evolve to the next level. Now, keyboard and mouse players on PC, and also I believe console now supports mouse and keyboard as well. Excuse me. A couple of things here they might want to look at that's pretty interesting. If we can get down to it, is the fact that triple keybinds. You have a lot of flexibility here in how you want to set up your keys. I want to give a shout out, as all the work that happened over the last couple of years to update MCC and bring that to PC, and all the fantastic work by the pub team. Being able to have triple keybinds was super important to the PC community. That was great feedback that we heard, and that's a good example of just one of taking those learnings and kind of that experience and bringing it over to the Infinite side.
Yeah, I think we owe a great debt to all the work that MCC and the publishing team has done with diving in, like feet first into the PC environment and getting us ready for this.
I'll hover on this one for a minute because I'm pretty sure I haven't been able to do this before in a game. Have I been able to actually just straight up drop my weapon for a teammate before?
Not that I know of, and honestly, it's been quite fun to use, especially when you're playing with like some less experienced players. You can just secure rockets for them and then hand it over to them. They get to play around with a power weapon that they might not normally have gotten. So, dare we say maybe this is the end of betraying your teammates to take sniper? Yeah, now you just gotta extort them, I guess.
Possibly. Cool, so a whole bunch of stuff here. This is something else that we, I think was mentioned in one of our employee spotlight blogs, but marking. This is also a new element to Halo games.
Yeah, and I've actually been really happy with the marking system. So if you're on PC, it is super easy just to mark everyone you see, and the game rewards you for it. You actually get points. You get a mark assist if someone kills someone who you've marked, and stacks with your normal assist points. And I believe there's a medal you can earn for marking enough people who get killed.
So I'll just kind of scroll through here quickly so we don't totally get inundated in settings, but it just goes on and on and on. So let me go over here to video as well. Something else I just kind of wanted to point out, which by the way, that is criminal for me to be on a FOV of only 70, but we heard, I think this has always been something Halo fans have wanted. We know, and everyone knows, the FOV really does have a dynamic impact on your experience in terms of not only just your vision, but the sensation of movement and speed. All those things are greatly impacted. So pretty awesome to me that on day one we already have a field of view slider, and this is going to be available on multiple platforms. It's not a PC-only feature.
That's correct, yeah.
I mean, what's your preference? I kind of generally like to kick it up here maybe in the 90 to 100 range. I mean, we can go, all the way up to 120 if we really wanted to?
Yeah, I usually like to kick it in 95 to 100.
All right, well, I'll split the difference. We'll go 95 there. But yeah, just kind of go through here. Lots of different nuanced graphical settings to really allow people to custom tailor based on, their own personal preferences, what's most important to them on their PC hardware. If I didn't mention that, if it's not clear, we are playing on PC here currently. So, you will not have the full breadth of all these options necessarily on every platform. But clearly for PC, it makes the most sense. I thought this is pretty cool too. Being able to sort of opt in or opt out of something that we call speed lines. So when you're sprinting in the game, we have some cool visual effects that help sort of really convey that sense of increased speed. But if I don't like it, I can just turn it off.
Yeah, I think the fact that we've got so many settings that are tailored so that you can fully immerse yourself, or if you're looking for a stripped down experience, if you don't want that, you can turn it off.
Same thing goes, of course, lots of audio customization here. Want to make sure people are aware of things like subtitles. You can turn those off and on if you want to. I did want to call this out as well. I know you and I were talking earlier about this, but Just a little bit of a public service announcement for anyone playing this weekend in the tech preview. By default, currently in this build, your mic is just set to full open, full hot. So some people might like that, some people may not. Personally, I was kind of caught by surprise when I was saying a bunch of stuff in a game and I thought it was private. So I just wanted to pass my learnings on to you so no one gets kind of caught maybe in a precarious situation there. So yeah, a lot of different options here, including Spartan Chatter. We'll hear a little bit more of that when we roll some more footage. And then the last thing I thought would be kind of cool to really point out, we've talked about this a little bit briefly in some of our blogs, but we have this new system that we're calling Friend and Foe, right? Which, in order to really support and embrace our goals and our aspirations about leaning more into player expression and having a lot more cool ways to customize your own Spartan and your own Spartan journey, it just didn't really work anymore to force everyone into a default red or blue model, right?
Right. And so by default, we have red and blue outlines, but for accessibility purposes, we know that various people can't see in certain shades, so we've got a wide array of colors that you can choose for both enemies and friends, and you can also customize the folks in your fire team to be another unique color.
Yeah, it is really flexible, really cool. I also personally being able to sort of, if I want to go old school and display a full gamer tag above someone's head, I could do that. Also helps me sometimes when I'm personally just trying to register a friend from foe. And then, I should call this out. You'll see this in the UI menu here. The theater will not be included in the tech preview, so we won't have that experience. The theater is coming back though. So, event timeline is a brand new feature. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, but you could probably surmise what that might mean in the context of the theater. And this is pretty crazy too. Weapon offsets. So people want to be able to move that stuff around, I guess.
Yeah. I know people who like to get a slightly different gameplay experience based on some old school games where they have the weapon more centered, or some people like to just push it way off, or so far off that they hit their mic. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I guess, one of the predominant themes here is just trying to give players as many options as possible to really dial in the experience to suit their personal tastes, right?
Yeah, I mean, it is just a set of menus, but I'm really looking forward to hearing what people think of these settings and the things that they can put together to customize it to exactly how they want to be. I want Halo to be like the comfiest chair in your house.
I like that. All right, so let's back out of the settings. Something else I think we want to point out to participants in the tech previews to keep an eye on this weekend, the news feed. Wow, this is like next-gen news. No, seriously. This is just good to keep an eye on if you're playing in the tech preview. We will probably use this to convey updates over the course of the flight, critical information. If the playlist experience evolves, we'll let people know through here, right? And I think, Sam, you wanted to specifically call this one out in particular, right?
Yeah, so we've got a notification for people on PC, especially if you're using the AMD GPU. You're going to want to make sure you update to the latest driver. It is a significant performance increase for PC users on AMD GPUs. So please make sure you do that, and make sure you check out the news for that kind of attention announcement.
Awesome. Well, Sam, I think that's all I got for you today. Any final parting words or thoughts before we jump over and dig into some customization?
No, I want to see the customization too. Thanks for having me.
Cool. Thank you, Sam. We'll be right back in just a moment. We're going to be joined by Jerry Hook here, and we're going to talk about all the things you can do to customize your Spartan in the tech preview. Be right back in just a moment.
A new day is upon us. A new generation built to fight. Together, we are unstoppable. Are you ready?
Return it to base. Ordnance drop inbound. All ads at your earliest convenience.
Now, show me what you can do.
And we're back. All right, thanks everyone. We are back now. This is our Halo Infinite Tech preview live stream here at 343 Industries in Redmond, Washington. My next guest has just sat down next to me. Please welcome Jerry Hook. Jerry, head of design. Welcome. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Really looking forward to this. It's very exciting, and we're doing it live. Like
This is
could
live.
not be more nerve-wracking
Hey,
than
what?
doing it live.
I probably have like 5 people watching. No pressure, no stress.
Not
I
a
mean,
big deal.
it's just between us, right?
Yeah,
We're just
absolutely.
playing some Halo, talking about Halo.
Yep.
So Jerry, I think you're going to join us today. We're going to talk a little bit about sort of the player progression, customization side of the game, things that kind of fall under our live team umbrella. Kind of from your perspective through that lens, what are you and the team looking for? What are your kind of high level goals? What does this tech preview mean to you?
Yeah, well, first let's really talk about what a live game means to us. Like, we have so much coming into Halo that we've never had before. We're on more platforms. We're on PC. We're free to play for the first time. So that means a lot, and that has a lot of changes that go into the fundamentals. And part of what I do as head of design is help ensure that everyone has their best work show up in the game. And the base fundamentals we use, we have some pillars that we're using to help make sure that our players get the best experience possible. And the first one of those pillars is player first. And you see that primarily represented in some of our attributes, specifically that, hey, look, the time and the money that you're investing in our title are extremely important. They're job one for us. That's why you see us move the battle pass to allowing us to have that battle pass be switched, and then players aren't feeling the 100% FOMO to, I got to get it now, right? That's a player first model. The other player first model that we're looking for is that our experiences, we want to delight, and we want to have those experiences, grow as we move forward. The delight's pretty key there, because we don't want to fall into some of the traps that you see with other free-to-play games where they just add chores, or they just add things that aren't really delighting the player, but the player has to get through. And so these mentalities change fundamentally what we're doing from a Halo perspective. Next big pillar is we want to listen, we want to learn, and we want to experiment with all of you as players. And this is critical. Like, Sketch, you're such a critical piece of this, of listening to the community, and everyone out there right now is screaming about Assassinations and screaming about Sprint and everything else, that all the various community members, they want to have a voice in the hobby that they love. And we're hoping to bring that to you, and working with you and your team, Sketch and Uni, and as well as, when you look at Tashin, you look at our esports communities, all of them have voices that we want to make sure that we can hear and bring into our experiences. The next pillar off of that is the story doesn't end with Master Chief. The story is actually your story as well, and our story is going to grow even in the multiplayer side. And this is pretty critical when you take a look at what Tom French and the team have done with Academy and all the other stories that they're bringing to play. That's your story in our universe, and we want to make sure that you have a story that continues with you. And then lastly is just for the team. You see so many stories of game development teams being burned out and burned to a crisp. And we want to make sure that, our core pillar of, we want to be able to build a sustainable and predictable game for all of you. And that's really, really critical, because if the team isn't there and the team isn't supporting all of the experiences we want to bring to you, then you won't have those experiences. And so we have to do it in a very predictable fashion. The other thing, from a player first perspective, our players should be able to trust us, that when we say, hey, we're going to go after, I've seen like the lists on Reddit and whatnot, right? And those lists are huge, right? And we obviously can't solve all of them on day one. In our launch, we're going to launch, and we know that we probably made some mistakes that you're not going to like from all of you. and we're going to need to correct some of those. And some of those you're like, hey, can you make it bigger? We want to go after those as well. So that's all pretty critical. And so in this tech preview, which isn't a beta, is, we're testing the technical side of it. And so you purchase everything. If you're in the technical preview, just go purchase everything. We need to test all of our services and connecting with our commerce engines and our commerce services. And Joaquin and our service team are just, man, they're on point. They're amazing, and we just need to make sure that all the technology works. But we will have some customization.
Yeah.
And it's definitely not a full customization at all of what'll be in the launch product. But that customization is going to help at least help us understand what's important to you from the small subset that we're giving you to play with.
Well, I think we should take a look at some of that. Speaking about my custom Spartans, I did want to just clarify one point. You're talking about spend as much as you can, buy everything.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, everyone invited to this tech preview will be granted a bunch of credits. So we're not asking anyone to spend your real money. So in fact,
not at all.
We won't even take your money. There's no way to do that.
Yeah.
So, but we're going to give you our money and ask you to spend it and just go have fun.
Yeah.
So
and prices aren't none of that is final. We're just trying to get some semblance of differences, so you as players would know what's
Yep.
better value, what's lower value.
Well, let's go back into the build here, Josh. I guess we'll go to my screen, if you will, and I'm going to go into the customize menu here up at the top. Jerry, I thought we might just kind of run through a few of these things, and then we'll kind of just navigate through the world of customization as it exists in this build, which, as you already noted, is just a subset of what we can expect to find in the shipping game. So I think we'll just go down the list here. People are probably very eager, I assume. They've never seen this. By the way, I do like this idle animation. You let it sit and it just kind of cycles through some really cool sort of 3D assets. Which is it's nice.
The other cool thing is, like, you just pop into customization. You already know we're doing a lot more. And, it's great to hear Sam and you notice some of the customization that's going on with bots and in your own hands with, with your AR. That's all in the game for people to play with.
All right, well, let's start by going in the armor hall, and then we're just going to kind of quickly move through here, and then we'll kind of bounce around like you and I discussed. So armor hall, pretty self-explanatory. This is where I'm going to customize my Spartan's armor, right? So right away, here we go. Now for this tech preview, because it's a subset, I'm going to have one armor core, and that's going to be my Mark 7 armor core. And Jerry, you and I have discussed this a little bit. Just there's been a lot of questions, I think, in the community since we first started talking about armor cores, right? And we've demonstrated this and sort of showed it off in our old overview video and some prior blogs. So how would you sort of best describe, like, what is an armor core and sort of how should we think about that?
Yeah, so this is one of our new systems. So Christopher Blum and Jeremy have done a really great job here creating this system. One of the things when we stepped back in design, we wanted to rethink how do we help make sure that our players are really represented as characters. And when you take a look at Spartan armor, it's like strapping on an F-22, or maybe you want a set of armor that is like an M1 Abrams tank, right? Each one of those vehicles is unique and has a unique character. The other great thing about that, the thing we're trying to build is we're trying to make sure that the character of that armor really comes through. There's really no better way to show this than, hey, Josh, you have one of the concept pictures? Yeah. Okay. So everyone saw at the end of that amazing multiplayer trailer the samurai armor. When we talk about strapping on a piece of armor as a unique character, I think our first fracture core, and we call these fractures because they're not part of the main canon. They're part of basically side universes that you can look at. You can look at how we're trying to develop the character, and our artists have done an amazing job of really trying to represent the breadth of what we want to look at, maintaining the character throughout the entire armor set, and more importantly, allowing that customization and you as a player saying, hey, look, when I strap on that samurai armor tank, I want to make sure that I can make it mine. And this is the breadth in which we can really express, but stay within the character. We don't want everyone to feel like they're just all one part of a single vehicle, basically. And so then you can look at what the artists have been able to think about, and you take a look at the attachments that you're seeing there. You're seeing swords, you're seeing a bandolier, you're seeing grenades, you're seeing different hip pieces, you're seeing daggers, you're seeing darts, you're seeing whole different expression of what a samurai could look like. And that's pretty critical for us to help, at least in this first impression and our first moment for everyone at launch. Because remember, at a live game perspective, we are expecting everyone to provide feedback, what works, what doesn't work, what do you want to see more, and that's where the game will grow as we move forward.
Yeah, this is
You can go
awesome,
back,
by the
Josh.
way. I'm super excited by the Yoroi Samurai in particular, which, by the way, we've also confirmed will be one of the first free pieces of content that players can earn in Season 1 by just completing a free event, which is
Yeah,
very cool.
absolutely. And again, that type of completion where just playing the game and earning things is still a part of not only our DNA, but again, from a free-to-play game, we want to make sure that we provide multiple avenues, not just the Battle Pass, but you have different ways, and we'll show that as we go forward, different ways in which you can earn things.
Yeah, right now I'm just kind of cycling through the weapon bench just to give give our viewers a sense of what that looks like. So, if I were to equip weapon coatings, I could check them out here. I'm just sort of scrolling through, giving people a chance to see some of the weapons that we have in the game currently that they'll be able to check out. So I really love this feature.
This is so sweet because every time you pick up a weapon, right, you take it off the weapon pad, it is your weapon, and it'll be skinned the way you want it to. It'll look the way you want it to. It is just a sweet feeling.
Let's quickly jump into vehicle bay. I mean, one quick caveat here is none of the experiences in this tech preview build will let you drive vehicles this time around. But of course, vehicles are an integral part of our sandbox, huge part of the experience, especially with the return of big team battle.
Yeah.
So we're going to get to that a little bit later this year. But I'll just kind of give people a quick glimpse here of some of the updated models, some of these things we're seeing for the first time, I believe.
Yeah, and again, for what we're showing here from a customization perspective, you make this you. So you get to say, hey, look, no, when I drive my Warthog or when I get on my Razorback with my team, I'm the driver. I get into it first. It's going to look the way that I want it to look like. And so as you continue to play and you're in the community, you're going to have different looks from players, and everyone will know like it is you in the driver's seat.
All right, then I'm going to jump down one more real quick here in the body and AI. This one, we obviously have a couple different body types I can choose from. I really love actually the depth that we've been able to go to now for prosthetics, right? Just an additional layer of customization and, frankly, inclusivity as well.
Yeah, sure. I mean, the biggest thing is just about, from a philosophy perspective for player first is we want everyone to be able to represent themselves. My sisters actually does build prosthetics for a living, and this is very important as it's a part of your identity. It's also, quite frankly, some of it's really cool. And again, we're only showing a very small subset, so don't get lost in that. But the sheer fact that you can do your entire body the way you want to from a prosthetic perspective and really make this your identity is really, really critical for us.
So personal AI is another new addition to the game. We introduced this, people heard some personal AI in the MP trailer, for example.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of people out there that became instant fans of Lumu, for example. And I think, we'll talk more about this probably with Tom French in a bit, and we'll see it in action in some of our additional footage. But, this is just a subset, right? So
and it's also just the beginning. Like this is the biggest thing. We have so many things in which you can really express yourself the way you want to, and even your AI sidekick, it's yours to express. Like it's yours to make yours. And I think the cool thing is that when you see Tom talk about it, and you see the modes you're going to use it in, it really becomes a part of the personality that you bring to the field.
Yeah, and each AI here, for example, has their own unique voice, their own unique personality. Yep. It's really fun, and then you can go one step further if you want to, and actually even a subset of colors as well. So personal AIs are one of my favorite additions to the game currently, and I can't wait for players to experience more of that. And then we have one more grayed out area here, and this is where I'd be able to do stuff like my service tag and emblem, and I think you've alluded to there's more coming than what's in this build, so we want people to stay tuned. Now I think let's quickly. I want to keep things moving here because I know folks are eager. We got a lot to get through. How about you want to jump over to the Battle Pass?
Yeah, let's do that.
Maybe we'll switch. Josh, why don't we jump over to Jerry? He'll drive us through, and let's just talk a little bit about what we're designating the Season 0 Battle Pass, and sort of what that's going to be for players in this technical preview.
Yeah, so when we take a look at ourselves learning as a team, The reason why we want to do Season 0 is, like the rest of our live experience, our team needs to build the muscle of listening to the players, of providing fixes, really going through, even veteran people who've worked on games, game developers. When they go through a service, every game is different, every team is different, and it takes a lot of muscle building to really get into the rhythm for your teams to be able to add to the game. And so what we hope to hear from on the technical preview side is, again, what's working for you, what's not working for you, what don't you like. Remember, the build is old, so don't treat it as if it's final at all. So as we go into these details, just remember, just send us your feedback. Give us the details that you want to see or improve on. And we won't, again, because we're a few months from launch, we won't necessarily be able to fix everything for launch, but we'll start adding lists together. First thing I want to talk about from a Battle Pass perspective is our challenges. Our challenge system is the cornerstone. It is the underlying thing in which we go. Now, everyone's familiar with these. We've done a little bit different. This is where you start seeing the first rewards that you get outside of the pass. So we know, right? Games are a bit different today than they were back in the day. In fact, back in the day, most people only had 2 to 3 games a year that they even looked at. Today, I bet you most of your Steam libraries are much larger than that. And that means players are going from Sea of Thieves, or they're jumping over to Age of Empires, and then they're coming into Halo as well. And we want to make sure that when you sit down, you don't have to absorb an entire battle pass to say, what are my rewards? You can literally just come in, what are the challenges? I'm going to go play my games with my friends, and I'm going to get rewarded for it. That's pretty critical for us from a player first perspective. And then, of course, you're going to get people like me. I'm going to sometimes get sniper challenges. Now, I'm not Clutch in any way, shape, or form, or Micwin, or any other pro team. I will skip that challenge. So I'll definitely probably swap that for sure. And I'll want to make sure that I don't have to do that, because I'm not good at it at all. So let's look at the Battle Pass. So we're going to buy this? Is that what we're going to do?
Yeah, we granted you. You're just like a real tech preview participant. Right, so we have given you some money, Jerry.
All right, good. I get paid today. Sweet. All right. Sweet. Got the pass. We're ready to go. So, as you can see, I bought it, so now you can't see the free labels. Shoot.
Oh well. Yeah, well, you're right. What we're not seeing is a smattering of objects in this pass are free, right? So.
Correct.
Even if someone doesn't want to opt into the optional pass in the real game, there will still be a free track and things to earn along the way.
Yeah, the main thing you think of from a model that we have is every tier there's a free item and a premium item. And that means that every single player, instead of having, most systems, you have large swaths of the tiers that aren't earned unless you're premium. For us, we want you to earn every step of the way. And for the preview, we're only having 20 levels in the preview to be able to go after. And so obviously at launch we'll have much larger. We're not going to talk about that too much, but the great thing you're seeing here is you're seeing customization all along the way. Do you want to go to yours?
Yeah, we can. Josh, you want to jump back over to mine, because I had some development sheets enabled, so I've got everything already unlocked. Actually, Josh, switch back over to my feed there. There we go. So now that we have that context, Jerry, of kind of sort of where this content's going to come from, I'm back in the armor hall. I've just kind of drilled now into this. This is what happens if I click in on my core, right? So we don't need to go through all this. I know folks are probably eager to see some more gameplay. We want to talk about bots and arena as well. But, this is where I would apply my coatings, for example. Some of these coatings I'm going to earn. We saw the Keystone coating as a challenge reward, for example. So this is just a taste of kind of what I'll be able to do. I can't wait to see how players in the tech preview, I would hope a lot of people are probably going to easily hit tier 20 and max out.
Yeah.
If not,
that's our hope.
What are you doing? You've had this long to prepare. Like, come on, you've waited for this. We need you.
Should just be good.
Go crazy. But yes, this is just to give you an idea. As I unlock my content for the core, this is where I'm going to go in and be able to customize that.
Yeah.
And I mentioned this to you the other day, but funny fact, someone pointed out to me that if you want to, I think for the first time in a Halo game, you can have no shoulder pads. Which, hey, if that's your fancy, go for it. So lots of different options here, and
and this is like, you're not seeing things in here like armor effects or other categories that we have listed here. For the tech preview, it's really small, and so we tried to keep it basically the baseline pieces. Actually, let's talk about Armor Kit for a little bit. That's
What is
brand new
because
concept.
I don't think this is really
So
fully supported in this build, though.
yeah, so when we talk about specifically from a pillar perspective of continuing the story, the Armor Kit kind of represents a bunch of that story. And so when you see the season, and when we say story, we mean the continuing story of the universe from after you, when you're in campaign as Master Chief. What are the rest of the Spartans doing? You are a Spartan, and so your story belongs here too. But it's also a place in which you can show iconic characters within the Halo universe. And so a kit, for example, you might get, I don't know, George or Emil, and that is an entire kit unto itself. And so you want to, like, you actually want to go fly the, you know, do your battles on the battlefield like George. That's where you would go to get that kit.
Well, Jerry, this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
I think there's still a ton of fun content in here for insiders this weekend to experiment with, unlock, explore. I do want to just reiterate as well, we've said this prior, but you know, this is just a test, so nothing that people buy or unlock during this will carry over to the final game. We're going to wipe the slate clean. And as Jerry noted, you know, just we're looking for your feedback. We'll have information on Waypoint, by the way, as well as in your flight invitation that lets you know where to go and how to give that feedback. And, you know, the team wanted me to also just give a shout out and let people know that a lot of polish work is still happening. So, you know, everything from how things look and are presented, we're not done yet. So, you know, I want to make sure we're giving credit to all the hard work that's still being done and will continue up until launch this holiday. Jerry, any final parting thoughts or words you want to leave to us before we jump over and bring Tom in?
No, I mean, enjoy your time. And, you know, as you said, Sketch, like, this is a few months old. And we have a long way to go from where we're at actually today and what you're seeing. But please go test every button, like play everything so that we can make sure that we have the tech ready for you when we launch.
Awesome. Well, cool. Thanks again, Jerry.
Absolutely.
Happy to have you here. We're going to take in one more quick break. We're going to bring in Tom French and the multiplayer team. We're going to talk about some bots. We're going to jump in, do a weapon drill or two, and talk about the Academy. And then we'll take a look at a match that we recorded on Xbox Series X. We'll be back in just a moment.
A new day is upon us. A new generation built to fight. Together, we are unstoppable. Are you ready?
Killing spree. Double kill.
Hello, let's do some damage. Skewer acquired.
Grapple check.
Claim the enemy flag. Return it to base. Ordnance drop inbound. The flag is ours. Please haul ass at your earliest convenience.
Now, show me what you can do.
Okay, welcome back again after that brief break. This is still our Halo Infinite Tech Preview live stream here from Redmond, Washington. I'm Sketch. And now I want to welcome Tom French. Tom, welcome, Associate Creative Director for Multiplayer. How are you?
It's wonderful to be in this room again. I've missed being in this space, so it's good to kind of just hang out. I kind of want to give you a big hug.
I know, right?
It's wonderful.
It's the closest, this whole process, I haven't come this close to human beings in a long time,
Yeah,
it
it's a
feels
little
like.
weird. It's a little weird.
Well, it's good to have you here.
Thanks,
I feel like
sir.
this has been, this has literally been years in the making, safe to say.
Yes, that is very safe to say.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit about multiplayer, which is obviously sort of the key focus for the tech preview. So much like I've talked to Sam and Jerry about, thought we might just open up with kind of giving you a chance to, from your perspective and your team, how are you thinking about the tech preview? Kind of what are your goals? What would you like our audience to know from your side of things?
Yeah, I think Jerry and Sam kind of hit a lot of it on the head. Really, the focus isn't about like kind of fair, balanced arena starts. It's really about a tech preview. We need to get a lot of data. There's a lot of PC data we need to do. Now that we're not like just, single console focus, there's a lot of information we need to really strengthen up our back end before we launch this game. To really just make sure everything's strong for the fans when we go live.
Yeah, and a lot of work obviously still happening. We've kind of covered that. Now, I think we've got safe to say we have sort of two signature content sort of buckets, features, if you will, of this tech preview, right? We've got an Academy experience, which I think we're going to talk about here first, and then we're going to move on to bots from that. So let's start by the Academy. We teased this a little bit. I think folks learned about it for the first time in our overview video last month. So from your perspective, what's the Academy all about? Where did it come from? What's the idea behind it?
I'm really proud of the Academy concept. Wake, when we started the journey to, what was going to become Halo Infinite, we needed, I don't know if you know this, but when you go to play multiplayer, it's intimidating to a lot of people. And so we needed to kind of create a ramp for how players get there and kind of smooth that out along the way. And so we thought about what are the obstacles that players have to do. And so the Academy is broken into three core parts and then kind of a fourth extension to that. But the first part is a tutorial where we teach you the fundamentals of the game. We'll introduce you to the kind of the canon around the MP Spartan and what is the player Spartan's purpose in the greater universe. And then the next step after that, we have weapon drills, which we'll get to play with and talk about today, which is cool. And those are really about kind of just giving you a chance to put your hands on a gun in very simple settings, really just kind of mono-focused, right? And just really focus on how that gun performs and learn. And there's different skill levels, which we'll get to see a little bit. And then the third part is the what we call the training mode, which lets you play arena matches, basically, or arena slayer inside of all of our arena maps. And lets you run around and you can configure the difficulty of the bots, you can configure your loadouts, you can configure, there's just a bunch of tuning knobs to let you really kind of soften the experience. And then the next step I would say beyond that is once you kind of get comfortable in there is we have 4v bot matches. So we have 4 players. Halo's a team-centric game. And so we want players to learn how to play together kind of first and foremost. And you do that against bots before they kind of start getting headshots across the map.
Well, you mentioned weapon drills, which is the sort of the slice of the Academy that we're including in the tech preview today. I think we should jump into a weapon drill or two. I'm sure our viewers would love to check that out firsthand. Tom, if you're willing, I maybe put you on the spot here.
You can see how much I suck.
I can embarrass myself. You know what?
Why don't we trade off?
Why don't we each do it, right?
All
So I'm happy to go first. Josh, if you want to jump back over to my POV here. I've already kind of jumped into the Academy menu. I'm presented with an option for weapon drills. I did want to point out this is not the entirety of our sandbox, right?
Nope,
this
is what's in the flight, basically.
It's a slice, right? Yep. So I would expect more weapon drills. So, I think I don't know what fans would be most interested in seeing. I'm going to guess they probably don't need to see an AR weapon drill, right? So let's do something a little more exotic.
Yeah.
Now, I might do this because this is one of my personal favorite new additions to the game.
Sure.
This thing is a beast.
It is a beast.
It sounds awesome. It feels awesome. And real quick, Tom, how would you want viewers to understand I got 3 options here for my weapon drill.
So there's 3 tiers of weapon drills, and the basic one is static bots, and they'll just stand there, kind of just let you get the hands on the gun, right? Shoot the basic targets, and we'll score you on your performance and kind of give you a grade so you understand how well you're using with that gun. The next tier, they're kind of on more just kind of simple paths or crouching behind cover and things like that to kind of show you how to use the weapon, get you to move to that next tier of how do you track a target across the screen. And then the third tier is more, they actually are doing combat behaviors. They're not firing back at you, but they're running around and they're ducking and they're a lot less predictable. And so they're kind of harder to track. They're kind of using more of the actual bot behaviors and mentality. So
I guess I'll split the difference and go, I'll go like a tier 2 here, right?
Okay.
Don't judge.
Let's see how you score.
Don't judge.
Right.
There's a lot of pressure here. And safe to say there's been a lot of internal trash talking as well, right?
Yeah, we trash talk a lot, especially about scores. We're a competitive team at our core, so that's what you have to do.
And speaking of too, I think there is a cool. Not only is this a learning module in a lot of ways, but there is a competitive angle to it. And I think safe to say down the road, the team's thinking about possibility of things like leaderboards and kind of how do we really bring that gamification competitive element to this.
Yeah, that was something that we really wanted in the core design, and just it just didn't fit into the schedule. So we're just building this kind of as a platform for how we can add more over time.
Okay, here we go. Not doing good. By the way, that's something our fans noticed right there. We have damage per sort of location-specific visual indicators on damage, right?
Yeah, it's really helpful, right? It really helps just that pop where you're hitting.
Look at that! I choked right there. Now, are you a feather the trigger person with this weapon, or do you just sort of pray and spray?
I'll just be honest, I'm hot garbage with this gun. That's first and foremost my problem. I'm trying to get better with it. I kind of use it as like an automatic, but when I'm kind of at range, I'll switch to kind of the feathering.
Oh no!
Oh man, that pillar got in your way.
That was not a great performance.
Terrible.
2-star. I mean,
terrible.
I think there is a bonus for like a quick reaction, right? Like if I were to quickly zoom in on the target right when it appears, I think I might get an extra.
I think there's extra little bonus points and little twists around it. So
all right, I want to put you on the spot now.
Okay.
We're going to switch over to your point of view. So
Okay.
So first of all,
right.
going for the
We should
controller,
go.
right? Because we
Probably pick
support
that up.
mouse and keyboard or controller. Doesn't
I'm
matter.
a controller guy.
Whatever suits your fancy. Tom, I am hearing from our friends over here in the room that it sounds like chat is unsurprisingly very interested in seeing the BR.
I think that's expected. Let's bring up the BR then. Let's see how. I mean, I'm okay with this.
I do like where you're going with the more exotic weapons, though. So maybe we just kind of break the rules and squeeze in a third game.
We'll squeeze in another one. I'll try to go the third tier so people can see kind of the different behaviors. And so you see there were kind of more bouncing targets in what you were doing. So you'll see this. They should take a little more cover and stuff. But yeah, obviously a fan favorite weapon. I'm really nervous how well I'm going to score. Let's see.
Well, at least we're picking different weapons, so we're not really we can't really compare each other against each other, right? So.
Yeah, people are already making fun of me in the stream. I can see it, or imagine at least. I'm really terrible about managing my reloads. I'm like an incessant reloader. Yep. See there, I probably shouldn't have reloaded right there.
Well, it's when we're missing shots like you and I do, it makes it a little hard to be predictable on that reload.
I know.
Too, right?
I really feel like it's part of my job to get better at this, and I'm trying, and I am getting better. I'm a little more better at like BTB is kind of my brag. But you can see they're kind of dancing around a little bit. They're strafing more. They're not just bounce patterns. I'm hitting headshots at least.
Yeah. You almost got this.
Crap reload.
Time's up. I think that's a pretty good score. Well, it's a new high score compared to whoever else played on this build.
I think nobody. So all right.
Yeah.
So I hit tier 2. So rank 2. So yeah. So you can see like we're trying to kind of give you some grading so you can understand your skill level and like how you can get better, or a little bit like kind of encouraging you to get better, so you can understand where you're meeting.
All right. I think we're getting the request. Let's maybe like at least one more. You want to play one more since you're already in? Why don't you do it? I'll put you on the spot.
I'll do it.
So I'm hearing that there's a lot of interest in the heat wave. This is I don't think we've really seen or shown this really to date. So this is obviously new and exciting. A little bit unconventional, right? A little bit different.
Yeah, it's different. I mean, it has an alt fire, which is cool. It's something that's kind of new to Halo. I know Quinn and his team was really proud of that. And kind of how do we introducing this kind of concept into the game, and how can we use this kind of more in the game. This weapon's really fun, and the two alt modes, or the two modes, are basically vertical and horizontal fire. I can't remember how this drill performs, so see, one of the things cool about the drills is they're trying to do behaviors that actually encourage you to use the weapon correctly. So like these two were bouncing near each other, and so you can get a more optimal like kind of horizontal shot.
Yeah, and I know folks notice it's pretty nuanced there, but I think you're using your left trigger to sort of swap between those two different fire modes, right?
Okay.
Yep.
All right, get together, boys. Thank you.
And this will penetrate, right? So you can line guys up and just take them all.
Oh,
very cool.
Last shot stuff. There we go. Oh. I'm definitely not managing my reload. I feel like I have more time in the game, right? Like when you're in a match, you like hide behind cover, but this is definitely that like kind of stressful, which is in a good way. Like it helps you get better by going through the repetitions and the drills.
Well, the world watching doesn't probably help.
Yeah, it doesn't help. I think I'm more nervous about you just giving me shit after. Oops.
We're fine. That's all right. We ran the ESRB up front. We're good. We're good.
I can't help it.
Content may not be suitable for all audiences. Look at you, man. You're sandbagging us here. 3-star. You're a master. So
maybe
that's
we
the
haven't
heat
tuned
wave.
those scores yet, so maybe
We're not going to
we
go
need
through every weapon drill, but when the tech build goes out tomorrow, the weapon drills will be available right away. So you folks
Yep.
that are in the flight can play to their heart's content all weekend long. We encourage you to do that, and I want to see people kind of see if you can beat Tom's score. There you go. Let's throw the gauntlet out.
Yeah,
See-
please. I mean, please beat my score. If you don't, I'll be disappointed.
So, Tom, obviously, we talk a little bit about bots as it relates to the Academy experience that we just saw here, but bots is kind of the other signature experience as part of the tech preview. So, before we get into the specifics, bots are brand new to Halo. Like, what do you want the world to know about bots? What's cool about them? Why are you excited about them?
I'm really excited about bots because, again, like, playing multiplayer in Halo is a scary thing, and so it gives players, like, we have this kind of notion of safe and being able to play safe and offline in the training mode and things like that. And so having bots to really reflect kind of player behaviors is a big goal of ours. And so actually our bots don't cheat. I'm really proud of the work our bots team has done. They really are emulating player behaviors. They're doing things like watching the motion tracker. They're listening for footsteps. They'll like pre-nade an area as you get into the better bots and things like that. So they actually are kind of reflecting player behaviors back into the game for you to, even if you're a learning player, you can kind of, oh, it did that. That's something I can learn as a tool. But again, really just giving players safe place to experiment and learn and warm up. Like we found out, the community was like, when we first started talking about it, they're like, oh, I can warm up before a match and stuff like that. And that was absolutely part of the intent. And we see we do it actually internally, or watching our pro team do it as well. So.
Yeah, they're no slouches either. I can say. I mean, let's talk about that for a minute. We've mentioned this a little bit in our blog last week, but my understanding is we want to kind of ease people into the experience this weekend, so they'll be able to jump online. And I think it's our second lowest skill level bots to start with, right?
Yeah, we have in the game we'll have 4 different tiers of bots. There's recruit, and then there's marine, there's ODST, and Spartan. And we're gonna start with the marine level, which is basically kind of like a silver level player, and then we have the ODST, which are more like a gold, and then
Spartan.
The Spartan is I'm losing my words right now, but they are obviously the higher difficulty level. But we're trying to get really just. They're the plat level player. Duh. I don't know why I'm thinking that. But yeah, so we're trying to just really kind of ramp it up. We want to let players play against the different spots so we can see the different kind of how players perform against them. We know they're not going to they're not shotsy. They're not going to just dong on you immediately, even when we get to our highest level. They really are a warm up and a learning tool inside of the game.
Yeah, and I think, my understanding is too that we want to get focused testing and data and sort of feedback on each of those sort of bot, you just mentioned the bot sort of skill levels. So if, for example, we get enough engagement and the collective community slays enough bots after we go live on Thursday, my understanding is, okay, cool, you guys have passed phase 1 now, right? So then we're going to kick off and escalate and sort of raise the difficulty up and introduce the ODST bots. So our hope and expectation is that everyone out there is playing so much, we're getting all the data that we need, and we're just going to keep ratcheting it up with the goal of, let's hope by Sunday we've got Spartan bots out there, and we'll really see how some players can stack up to that. And I believe we're also going to kind of gradually introduce maps in a similar fashion. So the big message there, I think, for tech preview participants is we need you to play a lot and come back every day, because we're going to try to keep that experience evolving and keep it fresh. I also wanted to shout out that we're going to be keeping an eye on our stats on the back end and looking to do a little celebratory shout-outs on the Halo Twitter account. So each day we're going to be looking for which player has slayed the most bots, who's won the most games, and also I think kind of interesting, which team has been able to get 50 slays and win their game against bots the fastest. And what's really cool in a twist here, we're going to track all that. We'll shout you out on our social channels, but when this game launches this holiday, we're going to capture your gamer tags now and be able to you'll be the first ever recipients of one of our sort of exclusive emblems, nameplates rather, for the Fire Unicorn, which has been sort of something that we've had throughout Halo 5, a little bit in MCC as well. So pretty cool. We're able to kind of start that muscle now a little bit.
Yeah.
So bragging rights, high stakes, slay a lot of bots, play a lot, but don't slouch, because these bots mean business, especially by the time we get to Sunday. So Tom, the last thing I kind of wanted to switch into as well, speaking of evolving the experience, we're thinking about possibly turning on some classic Slayer Arena, I believe, as well at the end of the weekend, correct?
Yeah, so I mean, I think, the intent is we're going to start with live fire with the map, which is one of our arena maps, and then we'll go into recharge, or we'll add recharge, and then we'll add Bazaar, which is set in Mombasa. Actually, I really want people, especially our fans, to really look around that map. There's some kind of nerdy lore things in there that are super cool. But yeah, then at the end, the intent is at the very end we'll we can unlock basically a chance to play some 4v4. There's a bug in there right now where sometimes you won't match at 4v4. You can get a 3v4 match. We should backfill somebody into that match, hopefully, generally within a minute or so. It depends on obviously matchmaking and population times at that point. But yeah, so it should balance out. Again, it's not going to give you that full fair like core competitive Halo start, but it will give players at least a first chance at like hands on stick to kind of put sights on another player.
For sure, and I just kind of wanted to reemphasize, like our number one priority is the bot experience, and it's getting all the data that involves. Because I don't think we mentioned this, but even just from the dedicated server's perspective, a bot match kind of taxes the servers and uses resources differently than a traditional PvP match, right? So it is important to us that we load test that.
Yeah, the bots are actually, they're running on the servers, and so they're actually putting weight on the servers. And then it literally, because it's 4v4, 4 players versus 4 bots, you're going to spin up twice as many servers, and so kind of testing scale and stuff like that at that time as well.
As long as we hit these gates and sort of checkpoints over the course of each day, we could have quite a bit of fun here at the end of Sunday night. But I did want to reiterate what Tom pointed out. We are aware the experience does have some rough edges, but as long as you're willing to sort of put up with that, we'd love to jump in and be able to have that fun with you as well. So, Tom, I think the last thing that we're going to jump into here in a minute is we have one more gameplay footage. We have a full match we recorded. Before we do that, though, I have a couple other things I think I just want to rattle off. One, split screen comes up a lot. It's a big part of the Halo multiplayer experience. I did just want to call out that is not supported in the tech preview. It is still something that is important to multiplayer for launch, obviously, but in the tech preview, will not be supported. So I think honestly, I believe you could even split screen in with your buddy on your couch, but then you can't load into the playlist together. So I just wanted to call that out in case folks get stuck in that situation. Something else that I just thought while you're here we could just chat about, I could ask you. Folks started asking this question as we showed off some of our MP content last month, and they're obviously going to sort of get the experience firsthand starting tomorrow, and that's about Assassinations. We saw a couple moments in the trailer where we saw some clutch back smacks that probably would have been an assassination. Folks have asked us, are they in, are they out, what's going on with Assassinations? So what's the scoop there?
So they're not in for launch, and I think we're just going to be straight about that, right? Like, we actually really love Assassinations, and I remember being at an HCS tournament with Quinn Del Hoyo, our sandbox lead, right when I took my gig, and we were watching a match, and somebody went to backsmack somebody, and they had Assassinations enabled on accident, because they turned them off, right? And they got this amazing assassination. It was a super hype moment in the crowd. But what happens at a lot of levels is people just turn them off because there's a gameplay disadvantage of it. And so one of the things we really wanted to do is take a step back and how do we think about how do these fit into infinite gameplay loops? And so one of the things that Quinn and I keep talking about is like when we bring them back, we want them to be back and fit right into our sandbox and the loops of the game and bring them back in a way that really just feels meaningful, so they're always an accessible tool, but also kind of a flourish moment that people have.
Yeah, so we talk about this a lot. Launch is only the beginning. Jerry alluded to kind of what it means to be a live service and those opportunities that it brings. This is a perfect example of something that I know is already on the team's radar, and I can't wait to. It's something to look forward to, and I can't wait to see how bots evolve and eventually. Assassinations evolve. Bots will evolve too, right? No, you're right. Getting assassinated by a recruit bot would be I think you have to resign at that point if that were to happen.
I think we delete
right?
your profile at that point.
So I think one more thing we're going to show today, I know people have still been clamoring for we just want to see a full match. Just show us a match end to end. So we have that here today. We're going to do that right now. Just to kind of tee this up, I believe this was recorded last week or so. This is Xbox Series X gameplay just directly out of the console. These are not bots in play. This is a 4v4 Slayer on Livefire. Yep. I think a few members of our pro team mixed in with a couple members of the studio at large. Kind of to your point, right now for this focus, we're not trying to sort of telegraph this is the competitive side of our game.
Exactly.
So this is about social, it's about fun, it's about learning and kind of evolving. So no one should read too much into that, right?
Yeah, this is not your BR starts really curated level. This is kind of more what we call internally our pub experience or our non-ranked experience. And so this is more of the quick play option that people will be seeing.
Well, let's roll that, Josh, if you got it ready. And, Tom, if you want to we can kind of provide some commentary along the way. We're not going to try to cast this or anything. I'm sure folks are just eager to soak it in.
I get Bravo to yell at me later if I do.
It's about 7 to 8 minutes, I think, end to end. But this is a full match of 4v4 Slayer, Halo Infinite, in our tech preview, essentially a version of this build. on live fire. So Josh, go ahead and roll that when you're ready.
Slay them all, Spartan.
All right, yeah, I think this is a pro team POV.
Well, let's see how good they are. Right off the bat, going for the
so he's got the heat wave, right?
Yep.
So he switched to vert.
Double kill.
There's
Steitzer.
Steitz. It's good to have Steitzer back. Or we call it, there's some nickname of Steitzy is kind of the people implementing the VO. So he threw down a shield, covered the position.
Yeah, I like that little peek technique. I haven't personally done that, to be honest.
Yeah, I feel like I learned a lot by watching this pro team video actually and how to play it. Like we watch them, we have regular weekly play tests with them. I don't play with them generally because they're so good, and we put our kind of better players up against them.
Also noticed that player went straight for the power weapon that spawns on this map in Slayer, which is hard for me to use, if I'm being honest.
So you'll see, like, I mean, so you can see the friend foe. That's one of the obvious things you're looking at here. I know Sam was talking about it earlier. This is something that we've continued to kind of iterate and evolve, even beyond this build. I think this might be our main build right now.
Lost a teammate.
There's power weapon spawns there.
Skewer is it's satisfying as heck, but it's hard for me to use.
I am worse at that gun than I am with the commando rifle for sure. When you hit a target, like especially a vehicle, it's super satisfying. All right, so he was spectating. He missed the neutral one.
Tried for it.
Tried for it.
Grenade. Successful.
Hard for us to hear in studio, but I believe you're hearing some personal AI coming through.
Yeah, you're hearing. There's a few things. So there's the Spartan Chatter that we had in Halo 5. It really just kind of brings the battlefield, gives a lot more like reaction feedback to what's going on in the game. But you'll hear this personal AI, and what we did with them is we replaced what was called Spartan Leader, or Team Leader, and it's just a more personal version of that, and they have a lot of personality, and so it lets you kind of swap around and kind of customize that feedback, and they give you a lot of low-level fit. Pulled the power up.
Yeah, I was just going to mention, you know, that's a change, right? It doesn't activate on pickup anymore. You can hold on to it.
Yeah, we think that'll bring a lot in the long term and allow us to do more things with power-ups than kind of just, you know, traditional kind of just quick stat kind of reflections, but having like really the notion of power equipment in the game.
One thing that we won't see in this point of view, I really love the visual language that you and the team have introduced. It's very obvious when someone's pocketing a power-up like that. You'll see a glowing trail
Yeah, there's
behind
like a
them.
contrail behind them. Yeah, that was a big thing, is making sure we at least telegraphed that information. That was, you know, making that switch. There was a lot of critical lenses on making sure that there was at least a readability to it in the gameplay.
I mean, so now it's sort of that risk-reward, right? Do I hold this and wait for that final push? Do I burn it now so I don't lose it?
Yeah, you make a lot of choices that way. Like I sometimes will pocket it and think I'm getting cocky, and then I'll lose it, and I'll give like overshell. That was a dope. I'll give the OS to the enemy, which is, you know, super risky at that point.
We're seeing a couple of little sort of, what do we call those, tutorial tips popping up there, which
Yeah.
you can turn off in the settings.
Yeah, you can
right?
turn them off, but they're death tips is what we call them. But yeah, giving you a little bit of feedback, you know, about the type of weapon that killed you, or like how you can respond better to it.
I'm not sure at this point the pro team needs to know that, like, hey.
Yeah, exactly. Or like just opt out if you don't really care about it, if you don't need that information, or it makes you feel bad, as some people might feel.
I do love this map.
Yeah, the pelicans flying by. It's it's an homage to Sergeant Avery Johnson Academy of. So it's kind of cool just to kind of pay homage to, like, you know, one of ours and everybody's favorite character in the set of the Halo canon.
By the way, whoever this player is just getting active camo every spawn. I don't know what the other team's up to right now.
Seems to be watching that call out. Yeah, the power ups, we treat those like, you know, like the power weapons and stuff. They're up on a pad. They have a lot of messaging and broadcasting about them, so you know when they're coming up.
Now your Spartan AI will tell you that, right?
Yeah, the Spartan AI calls it out as well. So there's a lot of information just kind of driving feedback. I get the stick there. You can see, like, there's the weapon racks you'll see in the levels as well. He ran past one a second ago.
Yeah, right
Yeah,
back
it's in the
there
background, right?
Yep.
What's cool about them is, like, you know, before you might run past where a weapon would spawn and then not realize that it's coming up in 2 seconds, and it could change your choice and like how you deal with it. Like when we playtest this morning, I actually stopped at one point on a weapon rack because I was like, oh, it's like 2 seconds out. I might as well wait for it and switch out my pistol, which I'm I think I'm just telling everybody that I'm really bad with a lot of the guns in our game.
Watch my back.
That was nice.
I do love the sidekick.
It's really cool, and like when somebody's really good with it, it's really threatening because they can just feather that thing super fast. And just crack
This player really likes this little like drop wall kind of
covering a
technique,
post,
huh?
yeah, and, like kind of locking down an entryway so they can watch their backs. It's neat to watch how people use these, like all the different equipments in different ways.
Spike obtained.
Well, hopefully a lot of players this weekend are going to be lighting this up on social, sharing clips with us, because I can't wait to see just some of the new creative ways that the community at large figures out how to use this new sandbox.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, like, I mean, like the way we have our maps tuned, like in our main builds, is they have different equipment and stuff on them, and because we don't have the entire sandbox in the flights, is we swap things out. So it's actually not even the same kind of, basically, map placement path that we would have in the release version of the game. But we, you know, it just at least gives us something so we can get something in there for people to play with. Oh, match is getting close. You can hear the music starting to kick up, kind of signifying the end of the match is coming.
I do love that. The multiplayer music, very cool.
I'm really proud of the multiplayer music. There's a cool story about how we got to basically getting the music in the game. But it really meets this tone. It's something I've really wanted since Halo 4. Was this kind of post-rock soundtrack to the multiplayer. Well, actually just a Halo, but it became one of my goals for multiplayer.
Take your damage.
Last kill.
You've lost a teammate. 5 minutes remaining.
Cool. Hill's got some drama.
It is. There we go.
Somebody else got it.
There we go.
Cool.
Yeah, that was actually me playing.
Oh, was you?
my-
Nicely
yeah,
done.
Since we won.
Nicely done. I'm proud.
Hey, so I'm happy that we were able to show that today. Not only kind of our first time showing the game on Xbox Series X, but we know the community's just show us a full match end to end. So happy we're able to do that. You'll be able to see a lot more of that, obviously, firsthand this weekend. And I think safe to say, once we get a little further down and we're ready to talk more about the competitive side and some of the ranked settings, we know people are probably eager to see. I would love to see a true 4v4 pro team match. So
that'd be brutal.
We'll bring that later. Tom, any kind of final words or parting thoughts you'd like to share before we wrap this up today?
I mean, mainly I'm just really excited to finally get to put this game in people's hands. And even though it's just a tech preview, you get to at least touch the game. You get to run around. You get to experiment with the sandbox. You get to help us, you know, be part of our team in a way. And then, you know, just help us kind of keep building towards the next flights as we get to launch.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming. We're super excited. I'll be playing all weekend as well. We'll be online playing, watching. Just wanted to go through a couple quick things right after this broadcast is over. If you want to head to HaloWaypoint.com, we have an updated blog that'll go out that'll kind of recap the official play times that we recommend for the flight experience for people who are involved. You can take a close look at some of our known issues and just kind of get a better sense of what you can expect this weekend. Also, just wanted to mention that we're also going to be flighting our next version of Halo Waypoint. So on app and web, we call it Waypoint V Next here internally. That actually will be included in this tech preview. Really cool work happening there to help really extend my in-game experience out beyond the game to web and app. You can sort of experiment with your customization, challenges. That functionality will be working during the flight. Encourage folks to check that out as well. And as a reminder, if you want to be a part of this and an opportunity to play future tech previews and flights of this nature, head to HaloInsider.com. Sign up. Please make sure your profile is complete. That includes, we need you to verify your email, and we need you to make sure you pick which platform you want to flight on, one or both. And if it's PC, we also need you to upload a DX to AG file. All the information you need and all the steps are clearly outlined. Just go to HaloInsider.com, because next time we're going to go bigger. We need even more people. We got to go larger scale because we still have a couple of steps to go between now and launch this holiday. And lastly, just want to say thank you to everyone. Clearly, the community, we really appreciate your feedback, your passion through the years. We know you've been eagerly awaiting this moment as much as we have. The Insider Group in particular, huge part of our MCC project to bring that game, update it, improve it, bring it over to PC. That wouldn't have happened without the Halo Insider feedback and flighting program. And we can't wait to bring that same passion and that same just devotion and desire to make the best game possible to Infinite. So I want to thank you in advance for your time this weekend, being a part of this tech preview. And that's all we got. So share us your clips online. Head to Halo Waypoint for more information. And we'll see you soon. Thanks for watching.